I just finished doing a live lesson on how to talk about summer in English, but here is just the lesson. There are about 30 terms in total if you would like to talk about summer in English. Hope you enjoy. So we will talk about things like heat wave and sunburn and barbecue. Now, you see it's BBQ, but most people don't say BBQ, it's barbecue. We'll talk about a couple different grills, charcoal grills, gas grills, and we'll talk about the gas that you put into the gas grill that we call propane. And the first term I would like to teach you is heat wave. Now, that is not something I have to worry about today. It is quite cool here where I live and quite rainy. But maybe if you are living in Myanmar or you're living in India right now, every day is a heat wave. But the definition for heat wave is very hot weather for many days. For example, where I live, most of the time the temperature in the summer will be 75, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Most days, maybe 85. But for about a week in the summer, we will have temperatures in the 90s Fahrenheit, of course, and that is what we call a heat wave. I'm sure in parts of Europe, it's not hot all the time in the summer, but when it gets really hot for a few days, you can call that a heat wave. And I do have a picture of a woman who is experiencing a heat wave. She is drinking a nice cool bottle of water like I have, and she has a fan blowing on her face. I think I have a few pictures during this English lesson of people in front of fans feeling very hot, but they're all different people. So let's talk about a sentence that uses heat wave. We stayed inside during the heat wave because it was too hot to go out. So hopefully you have air conditioning inside your house. That would be really nice because if not, during a heat wave, you are probably going to be really hot. Sunburn is the next one. And just a couple months ago, my wife, Jamie, who is in the chat, we went to Mexico. And I thought I put on sunscreen. We will talk about sunscreen in a couple. But I thought I put on sunscreen, but I forgot the top of my head. So I made a couple videos with a sunburn at the top of my forehead. This part of your body in English, we call your forehead. So let's get the official definition for sunburn. Red and painful skin from being in the sun too long. He got a bad sunburn after playing soccer all day. Yes, I am from the United States. We call that game soccer. Most of the world calls it football, which probably makes more sense because you use your feet quite a bit when playing that game. The next one here, barbecue. Barbecue is how you pronounce that. And that is something popular to do in the summer where I live in the United States. But a lot of times you will see it written as BBQ. But like I said earlier, not too many people actually say BBQ. For example, later this afternoon, my brother Ben, he has been on the channel a couple times. We are going over to his house for a barbecue. He is going to be grilling out. That's an English phrasal verb we might use. He is going to be grilling out on his grill, which we will talk about in a minute. But he doesn't say, do you want to come to my house for a BBQ? He might say, do you want to come to my house for a barbecue? And a barbecue is cooking food outside on a grill. My family had a barbecue in the backyard last Saturday. Let's talk about a couple different kinds of grills you might use for a barbecue. This first one uses charcoal, those little black squares inside the grill is what we call charcoal. Charcoal. Some people like the taste of food from a charcoal grill a little better than a gas grill. We'll talk about a gas grill in a minute. But for charcoal grills, you have to let those charcoals warm up a little bit. There is an English phrasal verb, and it can be a little messy. What is a little cleaner is a gas grill. And this gas grill will use something we call in English propane. And sometimes you might run out of propane. There will be no more propane left in the tank when you try to grill, but it's usually pretty easy. You don't have to wait for the grill to warm up for very long, and you can clean up after pretty easily. I mentioned this earlier. I forgot to put on sunscreen for one day during my trip to Mexico. I actually put sunscreen on most of my body, but I forgot up here and got a sunburn. So what is sunscreen in English? I hope that picture helps, but the official definition is a cream that protects skin from sun. You should wear sunscreen to protect your skin. Yeah, especially if you have light skin like I do, the sun will really burn it. Flip-flops. Kind of fun to say. Flip-flops. These are open shoes. And when we talk about open, we mean the toes. So the toes are open. If you are wearing something like dress shoes or sneakers, we would call those closed toe shoes. Not easy to say. But open shoes you wear in the summer are what we call flip-flops. I wear flip-flops every day when it's hot. You might also hear sandals for that type of shoe. Flip-flops, sandals, very easy to wear on the beach. You can slip them on pretty easily. If you don't know that English phrasal verb, don't worry. We'll talk about it in just a couple minutes. Let's say you are really hot on a summer day and you want to cool off. Another phrasal verb we might use for summer, trying to cool off during a heat wave. You might use something like a popsicle. A popsicle. They are a frozen fruit treat on a stick. Now, if you come to the United States and you order a popsicle, there is a good chance there will be no actual fruit in the popsicle. It will probably be just sugary water with fake flavoring. Please let me know in the comments, what is your favorite flavor of popsicle? In English, of course. Probably my favorite flavor is blue raspberry. I mean, think about that. Raspberries, if they are real, they're probably red. But you can get a popsicle that is blue raspberry. I mean, that fruit doesn't even exist in nature. So please let me know, what is your favorite flavor? I already know Jamie's. My wife, she is in the comments still. Maybe she's not watching anymore, but her favorite is either cherry or banana. Here's a sentence using popsicle. I ate a watermelon popsicle after lunch. Watermelon is a great flavor as well. I don't have a picture of a watermelon, but it's a big fruit, green on the outside, kind of red or pink in the middle, and it has little black seeds, unless you get a seedless watermelon. Hammock is the next one. Hammock. A lot of people like to lay in a hammock during the summer. Now, I said lay. The correct term might be lie. A lot of native English speakers confuse those two. So unless you are taking the IELTS or TOEFL exam, if you're just having a conversation, don't worry too much about lie or lay or lane, which nobody says. Have lain in a hammock? No. But for the IELTS or TOEFL, you might need it. In regular conversations, if you make a mistake, nobody knows. The definition of hammock: a swinging bed tied between two trees. Just in case you can't see that picture very clearly, I will make it a little bigger. Yeah, it does seem nice to take a nap in a hammock. You would have a little shade from the trees. It might cool you off a little bit. I read a book while lying in a hammock. Really quickly, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on this summer. I am offering private conversations with me. If you like my voice, if you like my teaching style, and you would like to talk to me one-on-one for 30 minutes or 60 minutes, there is a link in the comments and the description. I can even record our conversation and then send it to you later if you want to rewatch to improve your English. Little quick commercial. That should be the only commercial now, thanks to Freddie telling me he got a commercial. If you want to, how do we do this? Yeah. If you want to take a picture of that QR code, it will bring you right to the link. Okay. Is that enough time to take the picture? I think you can always rewind if you would like. The next thing, we talked about sunscreen. That is one way to protect your skin during the day from the sun. But where I live, when the sun goes down, the bugs come out. And you might need some bug spray to protect your skin at night. Bug spray, kind of what it sounds like. In the picture, that person is spraying that other person's arm. When we talk about bug spray, that is the noun, but you can spray bug spray on your skin, so then it can become the verb, something you do. It's a spray that keeps away mosquitoes and bugs. Mosquitoes. Last year, my wife and I, we went to Brazil. We loved Brazil. We want to go back. But we did get stung by a mosquito, each of us, at least one, and we got dengue fever. There's two kinds of dengue fever, and we each got one. Mine did not last too long. Unfortunately, Jamie's lasted for probably over a month. She was dealing with that dengue fever. So bug spray is very important in the summer. We used bug spray while camping. It's important to hydrate. It's important to hydrate during the summer. That is the verb. I need to hydrate if it is a hot summer day. And that means to drink water, stay healthy in the heat. You must hydrate often when it's really hot. And you can see this woman, she is drinking a nice, clear, maybe cool bottle of water. I also learned this week while doing some tutoring with a woman who is originally from China. She said most people in China will drink their water hot. Interesting. But her daughter wanted to bring cool water, cold water, ice water. Americans love to put ice in their water to hydrate. And she said, you can do it. You can do it. Scorching. This is a good adjective to know when talking about summer because it is often hot in the summer. Scorching just means very, very hot. It was scorching outside, so we stayed in the shade. And you can find shade under leafy trees. If trees have a lot of leaves on them, underneath, there is some shade. Actually, about a month ago, I did an English lesson at the beach, and I talked about the difference between shade and shadow. How about this? You might want to sound more like a native English speaker. So you could tell someone, hey, I'm going outside to catch some rays. What does that mean? Well, it's an idiom. So you're not actually catching anything. You're not catching a cold. You're not catching a ball. But it means to lie in the sun. We went to the park to catch some rays. And it looks like this woman, maybe it could be a man, but it's probably a woman. She is outside, laying on the beach, and she is getting a suntan. So we talked earlier about a sunburn, and that is when your skin turns red. A suntan still hurts your skin, but some people like the way they look when they have a tan, and it makes their skin just a little darker, a little more brown. The next one here is heat stroke. Super dangerous stuff here. Heat stroke, a dangerous illness from being too hot. So if you don't hydrate properly and it is very hot out, you might get heat stroke. You can get heat stroke if you don't drink water. And you can see this boy, he looks to be in rough shape. Luckily, he has some water in his hand and maybe a cooling patch on his forehead. I'll tell you a quick story about one time, one of my children, they were probably 8 or 9 years old. It wasn't too hot that day, but they did get heat stroke. I think they didn't drink enough water, and so it was pretty scary. They were falling asleep, getting very sick. We were rushing them to the hospital, but when they got into the air-conditioned car, their condition improved. So we did not have to go to the hospital. I won't say which one of my children, but we were giving them lots of water. They were drinking it as they were almost falling asleep, but being inside the air-conditioned car helped them improve. We did not have to go to the hospital, but it was pretty scary for about 20 minutes. Muggy, we use this all the time in the United States. Muggy. It means it's not only hot out, but it's also wet or humid. We will talk a little bit more about humid later, but it's when the air has a lot of moisture in it. Little drops of water that you can't see. We call that moisture. So a lot of times it could be hot and muggy, which makes you sweat more. I think we talk about sweat a little later too. It felt muggy before the thunderstorm. So here is yet another person in the picture. They look like they are pretty hot. Luckily, they do have some water. It was difficult for me to find the perfect picture for Muggy. But Muggy, not only hot, but also humid. Lots of water in the air. Packed. This sounds very much like a native English speaker. Oh my gosh, it is packed in here. The beach could also be packed. It means very full or crowded. A lot of people are in one small place. The beach was packed with people on Sunday. And look at that. That beach definitely looks packed. I don't even know where you could lay your towel down on that beach. It is so packed. What does it mean if you have to sweat it out? So let's talk about sweat first. When it's hot, sweat is the water that forms on your skin. We call that sweat in English. If you have a lot of sweat on you, you could say, oof, I am sweaty. So when it's hot, people will often sweat. It's the body's way of cooling down. But if you sweat it out, that's an idiom. It probably has nothing to do with sweat. Let's talk about it. It means to wait in discomfort, usually in the heat, but not always. We'll talk about one way where you can sweat it out, and it's very cool. We had to sweat it out in the long line under the sun. Anytime you have to wait and it's uncomfortable, you can say you have to sweat it out. Let's say you took the IELTS or TOEFL exam. Maybe you are trying to get a better job and they want to see some test scores. Well, after you take the test, you probably have to wait a couple days or a couple weeks for the results. And during that time, you can say, I am sweating it out, because you don't know how you did. You want to see those test scores, but you have to wait. Sweat it out. Do you know this verb? Melting. I have two different pictures. This is actual melting. That is when something is cold or frozen, and then it becomes warm. It warms up. For example, ice cream and ice will melt if it's a hot day and it's not in the freezer. That ice cream cone is melting. The ice cream on top of that cone is melting. But you could also describe yourself as melting. This is at least the second picture with a person in front of a fan feeling hot. Let's get the official definition for melting. Feeling very hot, like you're melting. So it can be an idiom. You are not actually melting. It just might feel like it. Or you can have actual melting, ice cream or ice. It was so hot, I felt like I was melting. That woman in the picture looks like she could feel like she's melting. Slip on. Slip on. It is a phrasal verb, and it means to quickly put on clothes. I slipped on my sandals and ran outside. Now, I did ask AI, please show somebody slipping on their flip-flops or their sandals, and they did almost a perfect job. It does look like that person is trying to tie their sandals. So my friend ChatGPT or Chad, they did get a little confused, but I think you get the idea. Maybe you are at the beach and you have on a bathing suit and you want to go buy something at the snack shack, we might call it, the place at the beach where they sell food. And you might want to slip on a shirt, slip on a covering before you go to that snack shack. Slip on, it means put on clothing kind of quickly. So the next thing you might do in the summer is have a campfire, or you might also hear it called a bonfire. A bonfire. And a campfire or a bonfire is simply a big fire outside at night. We sat around the bonfire and told stories. We could talk about sweaty. That is the adjective you can use if you have a lot of sweat on your skin. Oh my goodness, I'm all sweaty right now. So scorching outside, it just means wet from sweat. I got sweaty after playing basketball. Oh, I don't know. Has any other teacher on YouTube taught the term pit stains? Right here. Under that man's arm, there is a big circle of sweat, and we might call that a pit stain. So it comes from armpit. Underneath your arm is called your armpit. Hang on. I'll put my microphone pointing towards my armpit. So it's like, scared me. Right there. Underneath there. You might, hopefully, every day apply deodorant to your armpit. And that man, he is very sweaty and he has something we would call pit stains underneath his arm. Humidity. So we have talked about humidity before in this English lesson, but now we can get the official definition. Moisture. It's another name for like really small drops of water. Moisture or water you can't see in the air. The humidity made my shirt stick to my back. So maybe a lot like this guy. Yeah, his shirt is probably sticking to his back because it's so hot and humid out. But we called humidity, we said that there was humidity in the air, but you can also describe it as humid. So humid is the adjective, humidity is the noun. It's the thing you can see. So there is a lot of water on that window, but you might say there's a lot of humidity in the air. Next one, take a dip. I do have another English channel, American English with Brent 2, and last week I did an English lesson about all of the ways Americans use dip. I think there are like 14 different ways we use dip. But to take a dip means you're going for a quick swim. Let's take a dip before lunch. Let's take a dip before lunch. So you're not going to be in the water for too long. Maybe you just go in the water to cool off, but it definitely looks like those people are sitting on a dock, that wooden structure near the water. We would call that a dock. And it looks like one of the people is jumping off the dock. He's going to take a dip in the river. You can take a dip in a pond. You can take a dip in the ocean. You can take a dip in the lake. What about drift off? It's a good thing to do in the summer. You might drift off to sleep. Drift off, it's a phrasal verb, and it means to fall asleep slowly. So this person, maybe they've been at the beach all day. You know, being out in the sun and the heat can make you sleepy. So as he's reading his book on the beach, it looks like he might have drifted off. So again, to fall asleep slowly. I drifted off in the hammock after lunch. There's a little review there. Remember, hammock was the bed between the two trees. Good place to drift off in the summer. What about unwind? Summer is a good time to unwind. It means to relax after being busy or stressed. So as a teacher, I'm working from about September, late August to June. Things can be pretty busy, both inside my classroom and teaching on YouTube and the private lessons. But summer, where I don't have to go into the classroom, is usually a good time to unwind. Summer is the perfect time to unwind. Got one more here for you. Burning up. I say this all the time. It is a phrasal verb, but a lot of native English speakers in the United States will use this. Burning up. And we have yet another person feeling very hot in front of a fan. But this is the old-fashioned fan. This is the fan that you have to move with your hands yourself. But if it's burning up, it just means to feel very hot. Oh my gosh, we need to turn the air conditioning on. It's burning up in here. I was burning up while waiting for the bus. Might have been a very hot day. I hope you enjoyed this English lesson. Maybe you are watching on replay, but it's about an hour long, over 30 or right around 30 terms that will help you speak about summer in English.